Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, representatives, colleagues and friends, I'm very happy to be here with you today. I am very grateful for the possibility to exchange with you today, through the facilitation of technology, some ideas, very important concepts that are useful when we talk about employment of persons with disabilities. Il mio nome è Daniela Bas e sono il direttore, la direttrice della divisione che si occupa delle politiche sociali e dello sviluppo al Dipartimento presso le Nazioni Unite che si occupa di affari economici e sociali, conosciuto piuttosto come DESA, e la sede è qui alle Nazioni Unite di New York. La divisione che io ho l'onore di dirigere è una divisione che si occupa di vari gruppi che io, anziché chiamarli gruppi vulnerabili di persone, preferisco definirli come gruppi sociali, come risorse della società. Sto parlando delle persone indigene, sto parlando delle persone anziane, dei giovani, della famiglia e naturalmente anche delle persone con disabilità. E posso dire che all'interno di tutto il sistema delle Nazioni Unite, noi come Dipartimento, in questo caso la mia divisione, è responsabile in tutto il sistema delle Nazioni Unite di questi gruppi di persone di cui ho appena parlato. Comunque vorrei proprio ringraziare l'associazione A.I.P.S. per aver organizzato questo evento su una giornata così importante. Quindi ora ricontinuerò a parlare in lingua inglese, che è una delle lingue ufficiali delle Nazioni Unite. E lo dirò di nuovo anche in inglese, quindi. I would like to thank the association A.I.P.S. for organizing this event on a most important theme at a very important time in the history of the work of the United Nations on Disabilities. Only a few days ago, on September 23rd, Monday, the General Assembly of the United Nations successfully convened the high-level meeting on disability in order to cover an overarching theme that is the way forward, a disability inclusive development agenda towards 2015 and beyond. Now, this was the first event of its kind to be held at the highest levels by the international community to deliberate on disability inclusion in all aspects of development beyond 2015. È vero, questo è stato il primissimo meeting a livello mondiale organizzato nella storia delle Nazioni Unite sul tema dello sviluppo e della disabilità, per vedere come includere il tema della disabilità. E ogni qualvolta parleremo di sviluppo a partire da quello che il mondo sta organizzando adesso, cioè a partire da dopo settembre 2015. During the high-level meeting, member states adopted a concise, action-oriented outcome document which identifies priority actions for the realization of disability inclusive development. However, the high-level meeting and its outcome document is not the end. It is the beginning of a greater and more focused international cooperation and partnerships to promote a disability inclusive development agenda beyond 2015. So, ladies and gentlemen, now I turn to today's topic, which is work of people with disabilities. The UN considers access to productive and meaningful work as the key to inclusion and social development. UNDESA remains the focal point on disability in the United Nations system, and DESA will continue to work to promote the right of persons with disabilities by linking disability with social-economic development. Through our work, we find that persons between 785 and 975 million of the more than 1 billion people with disabilities are estimated to be of working age, but most do not work. In the European Union, persons with disabilities are 2 to 3 times more likely to be unemployed than others. One of the causes of this outcome document is highlighting the presence of multiple barriers. This is highlighted in the outcome document of the high-level meeting on disability and development that I just mentioned. And because of this presence, then of course it's very difficult for persons with disabilities to find employment and also sustainable livelihoods. When these barriers are removed, persons with disabilities will then be able to contribute effectively to economic productivity, plus having a decent life, which is a right for all human beings and for all citizens of the world. And now, Article 27 of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities on Work and Employment calls for countries to recognize and safeguard the right of persons with disabilities to work on an equal basis with others. This convention, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the primary legal frameworks guiding policy on disability inclusion around the world. To date, there are over 155 signatories and 132 ratifications of the convention. About 91 states have signed and 77 have ratified the optional protocol. And we are aware that there is a gap between legal frameworks for protection of rights and the daily experience of persons with disabilities. We also know the data on persons with disabilities are hard to come by in almost every country. Specific data on their employment situation are even harder to find. So, in order to facilitate policy planning, implementation, and evaluation, there is need to improve disability data collection, analysis, and monitoring. Member states and their partners, including the United Nations and civil society, and specifically organizations of persons with disabilities, are working on finding innovative solutions to strengthen the linkages between policy and practice in order to make real changes in the lives of persons with disabilities and their communities. And I think that we should engage more and more also the private sector. We stand ready to work with all partners on the next steps of our work for disability inclusion in development. I think that the role that you can play in supporting member states of the European Union to make sure that they include a disability as a cross-cutting issue in the discussions that are taking place now and preparing the goals of what we call sustainable development beyond 2015 is extremely important. Make sure with your contribution today that the topic of social development has to become a topic of a sustainable social development beyond 2015, and employment of persons also with disabilities plays a major role. Thank you very much, and I wish you all success in today's conference. And I'm so how can I say, happy that through this technology I can communicate with you, but it would have been much nicer to be there with you today. Grazie, buon lavoro.